Let's go Dolphins! The Miami Dolphins front office has turned the page on 2024 and is already looking ahead to the 2025 draft. Some names of potential reinforcements for next season have been circulating behind the scenes, and I'll tell you all about them. But before we go any further, make sure you've already hit the like button if you've been a Miami Dolphins fan for over 23 years. It's great to see fans of all ages. If possible, write this: the Miami Dolphins live in my heart. NFL reporters have been teasing potential first-round targets for the Miami Dolphins, and opinions on these new names have been divided among fans. Let's dive into the top 5 players they highlighted, along with the logic behind each pick and how they might fit with the Dolphins. First up is Maliki Starks, a safety from Georgia. At 6 feet 1 inch and 230 pounds, Starks has established himself as one of the most dynamic defenders in college football. A 2-time All-American and All-SEC selection, Starks brings versatility and athleticism to the safety position. Over his career at Georgia, he racked up 6 interceptions and made multiple tackles for loss, showcasing his ability to make plays both in the secondary and near the line of scrimmage. For Miami, a player like Starks could be a game changer, especially with the current uncertainty surrounding their safety room. While Javon Holland has been a star, his contract situation is unclear. Holland could potentially be out of Miami's plans for the future, leaving the team with a glaring need at the position. Additionally, veterans like Jordan Poyer and Elijah Campbell haven't delivered the production Miami had hoped for and are set to hit free agency. Starks could step in as an immediate starter and provide stability for a secondary in flux. However, one potential concern is Starks' technique when paired one-on-one with faster wide receivers. His hips sometimes don't turn quickly enough to keep up with man-to-man coverage, but that's a coachable issue he can address in the pros. Overall, Starks' potential to be a plug-and-play starter makes him an intriguing option at 13. Next on the list is Tyler Warren, a tight end from Penn State. Standing at 6 feet 6 inches and weighing 260 pounds, Warren has had a meteoric rise over the past season. His versatility is what stands out. This is a guy who used to be a high school quarterback and has even thrown passes at Penn State. In his most recent season, Warren accumulated over 1,100 receiving yards and 8 touchdowns on 98 catches. He even ran the ball 24 times for 197 yards and 4 touchdowns, highlighting his unique skill set. Warren's breakout performance against USC is one for the highlight reels: 17 catches for 224 yards and a touchdown, plus a rushing sneak for a first down and a completed pass. His ability to impact the game in various ways could make him a valuable weapon for Miami. But would the Dolphins use their first-round pick on a tight end? It's debatable. Tight end Jonnu Smith just had a career year with the Dolphins and is under contract through 2025. Still, if Miami is looking for an explosive playmaker who can thrive in short yardage situations and provide an additional dynamic threat in the passing game, Warren could be worth the gamble. Shifting to the trenches, Will Campbell, an offensive lineman from LSU, is another player to watch. Campbell is a massive 6 feet 6 inches, 323-pound lineman who has been a 3-year starter at LSU. His arm length has some scouts suggesting he might be better suited at guard, which could be ideal for the Dolphins. Miami's tackle spots are relatively set, but there are glaring holes on the interior offensive line. Campbell's technical prowess, footwork, and hand placement are standout traits. He's been recognized at LSU as a top playmaker, receiving the prestigious number 7 patch, an honor typically reserved for the team's best players. His ability to play in both gap and zone blocking schemes makes him a versatile option for Miami, especially as they continue to rebuild their offensive line. However, there are concerns about his pass protection, particularly when he's left on an island against speed rushers. Moving him inside to guard could mitigate those concerns and allow him to focus on his strengths as a run blocker. Miami fans should also keep an eye on Kelvin Banks Jr., another offensive lineman, this time from Texas. Banks is slightly shorter than Campbell at 6 feet 4 inches, but weighs a hefty 324 pounds. Like Campbell, Banks has been a starter for 3 years and could transition to guard at the NFL level. Some analysts have labeled Banks a faller in recent draft discussions due to his struggles in pass protection, particularly in recovery when beaten by defenders. But much of this criticism should be taken with a grain of salt. Banks hasn't been fully healthy toward the end of the season, missing the SEC championship game and playing through injuries against top competition like Ohio State. Despite these setbacks, Banks showed resilience and still managed to look effective on tape. If Miami is considering offensive line help, Banks could be a more attainable option at 13 compared to Campbell. His run blocking ability and athleticism to reach the second level are assets the Dolphins could use, particularly if they continue to prioritize a run-heavy scheme. Finally, we have Kenneth Grant, a defensive lineman from Michigan. At 6 feet 3 inches and 339 pounds, Grant is a mountain of a man who could help solidify Miami's defensive front. His size and athleticism are reminiscent of Christian Wilkins, who proved to be a crucial part of Miami's defensive success before his departure. Grant's ability to disrupt plays at the line of scrimmage and his knack for batting down passes make him a player to watch. However, some may argue that pick 13 is a bit early for Grant, especially given the depth of the defensive line class. But if Miami prioritizes fortifying their defensive trenches, Grant could be a smart investment for the future. His hustle and football IQ stand out on tape, with one memorable play showing him chasing down a running back 20 yards downfield, a testament to his motor and work ethic. So, Dolphins fans, who do you think Miami should target with the 13th overall pick? Should they address the secondary with a playmaker like Maliki Starks? Go for a versatile offensive weapon like Tyler Warren? Or should they focus on strengthening the trenches with prospects like Will Campbell, Kelvin Banks Jr., or Kenneth Grant? Drop your thoughts in the comments below now. Let's really break down the pros and cons of these prospects and see how each one fits into the Dolphins' current roster situation and draft strategy. Starting with Maliki Starks, the safety position has been somewhat of a revolving door for the Dolphins outside of Javon Holland. With the potential departure of Holland due to contract issues, there's no guarantee Miami will retain him long-term. This makes finding a reliable safety a top priority for the front office. Stark's aggressive style, athleticism, and knack for making plays on the ball would give Miami a much-needed boost in the secondary. Here's the kicker. Starks isn't just a plug-and-play option. He's a playmaker. We're talking about a guy who can change the course of a game with a single interception or a perfectly timed tackle behind the line of scrimmage. But let's be realistic. The transition from college to the NFL can be brutal for defensive backs. While Starks dominated in college, there will be growing pains at the next level, especially in a division where quarterbacks like Josh Allen, Tua Tagovailoa, assuming he stays healthy, and Aaron Rodgers, if he's still in New York, love to test young defensive backs. Moving on to Tyler Warren, the idea of drafting a tight end in the first round might seem a bit controversial. After all, Miami's offense was explosive last season, and tight ends typically aren't the focal point in Mike McDaniel's system. But here's where it gets interesting. Warren isn't your typical tight end. His versatility as a pass catcher, runner, and even a passer makes him a Swiss Army knife type of player who could add a new layer to the Dolphins' offense. Imagine Warren lining up in different spots on the field. He could stretch the defense as a receiver, pound the ball in short yardage situations, or even execute trick plays. The comparison to Brock Bowers is worth noting. While Bowers took the league by storm in his rookie season, expecting Warren to do the same might be a stretch. But if there's one thing Dolphins fans have learned, it's that unpredictability can win games. Warren brings that element of surprise, and that's something Miami could use to their advantage. Still, with Jonnu Smith under contract through 2025, the front office would need to be convinced that Warren is a significant upgrade over what they already have. Now let's talk about the trenches, starting with Will Campbell. The offensive line has been a sore spot for the Dolphins for years. While they've made strides in improving the tackle positions, the interior remains a concern. Campbell, with his size, experience, and versatility, could fill that gap perfectly. He's a 3-year starter who's battle-tested in the SEC, which means he's faced some of the best pass rushers in the country. It's a tough call, and the front office will have to balance need versus value. But one thing is clear, this draft pick could be a game-changer for the Dolphins. The team is on the verge of becoming a perennial playoff contender, and a smart selection at 13 could push them over the edge. Now, I want to hear from you. Who do you think Miami should target with their first-round pick? Are you leaning toward a defensive playmaker, an offensive weapon, or someone to shore up the trenches? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's go Dolphins!